Give us some perspective of where we are now versus when you were in the trenches.
Oh, man, what a transformation. 1978, when I was drafted in Tampa, all I wanted was the opportunity. Having played for Coach Robinson, that's what he believed in, is opportunity. And going down to Tampa, John McKay was the head coach. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I had a chance because of one thing. In 1965, John McKay played with a guy by the name of Jones out in 65. Mm-hmm. During that time, nobody played in the South as a quarterback at a major university. You almost had to go to a black institution. But going down to Tampa, only James Harris was in the league, and he was a backup in San Diego at that time. And, looked around, you say, all you want is an opportunity. And that's what they gave me. But every article that was written about myself was either Tampa Bay's black quarterback or Doug Williams, the black quarterback of Tampa Bay's. And we've come a long ways because they don't use that adjective anymore when you're talking about the quarterback of the day.
I'm often wondering, and I'll pose this question to both of you, based on your research, based on your just knowledge of being in the NFL, being in the position that you were in, Doug. Who do you think has been the key catalyst for change in terms of the black quarterback? Was it you and your Super Bowl championship? Was it Warren Moon and his greatness despite being devoid of a Super Bowl championship? Who was that individual in your estimation, and what was it about them that provided the catalyst, the catalyst tag?
Looking at it from my standpoint, I think given the opportunity in the first round to play in the league started it off. But I think Warren Moon, who did not get drafted, which I think was a travesty, going to Canada, winning, and coming back and signing the biggest contract in the NFL at that particular time, I think took notice to a lot of owners, a lot of coaches that, we cannot block guys because of the color of their skin. It's about their ability. I think it started with Warren, and it started moving forward after that.
And I have a question for Jason. Along those lines, but as a white guy on the show, let me just say, people were so stupid, and this was not black people we're talking about because obviously white people were so stupid once upon a time that they needed an example of a black man winning the Super Bowl, a quarterback, to know that black men like white men could play quarterback, right? It's a preposterous proposition that they were even in that. So I have the reverse of the question that Stephen A. just asked Doug to you. Who were the people, not that, now it's here. No, what took so long? What took so long even between when Doug won and now before you saw much closer to equal opportunity there? Who were the people slowing that up?
Well, I mean, clearly you're talking about NFL owners, you're talking about NFL executives, player personnel, general managers, and I don't know if it's as much overt racism, or that clearly was there. Mm-hmm. There really was this wrong-headed belief that these guys could not do this. And I'm very reluctant to ever disagree with Doug Williams on anything, but let me just say to Stephen's question, I do think that this man was the one who shattered everything. No question, Warren Moon deserves a great deal of credit, highest paid player in all these things, and first only in the Hall of Fame so far among black quarterbacks. But when this man went on that field and did what he did against the Denver Broncos, everything changed. Even though we didn't get to a point that we're at now until some time, but everything changed because there was this idea that, well, wait a minute. I mean, not only did he lead the team to the victory, but he was the MVP of the game. And a lot of these wrong-headed myths that we kept hearing about, they had to start slowly going away.
It's interesting that you say that because here's where I need you guys' help. I think that when you point to Doug Williams, I'll give it to him and Warren Moon. But guess why? It wasn't just because they're black quarterbacks who succeeded. It's how they succeeded. I'm looking at you standing in the pocket, flinging the football. I'm looking at Warren Moon standing in the pocket, flinging the football. I almost feel as if it were a running quarterback, the quote-unquote athletic quarterback, that it still would have been held against them.
That's right.
So I think about that with this question. How do you feel now about the black quarterback? Yes, we got Patrick Mahomes who can throw that football. We got Deshaun Watson who could throw that football. But who's the league MVP? It's Lamar Jackson. And even though he can throw, everyone's talking about the electrifying running ability. Is that a plus or minus for the NFL and the state of the black quarterback in your mind?
I think today it's a plus.
Okay.
Because let's talk about Lamar Jackson. When he came out, a lot of people was talking about him changing position because of his athletic ability.
Right.
But the guy threw 36 TD passes this year.
Right.
I think what he brings to the table, and I would have loved to go back to Michael Vick. If Michael Vick had the offensive set that Lamar Jackson playing in now, it probably would have been the same thing. Because I think first of all, give credit to Ozzie Newsome for having the foresight to say, hey, we can get something out of this guy. And then you got Coach Harbaugh, and then Greg Roman put an offense together that put so much pressure on the defense. So now you'd be surprised. These coaches and these scouts and these owners, they're going to go out and you see a guy as athletic as Lamar Jackson, you're not going to say, we need to change him to defensive back or wide receiver. That's not going to happen.
What impact they brought up Michael Vick do you think he's had in this conversation?
Well, no question, Molly. When you talk about Michael Vick, first African-American quarterback to be drafted #1 overall, major impact. But back to what Stephen A. said about if Michael Vick had been the one that year and they didn't win, we would not be where we're at right now because of them. See, all they can do is run, and when you put them in a big game, they can't do that. Patrick Mahomes doesn't run a 4.3 40, but he moves enough. Jimmy G, very good quarterback, no offense to him, but he could not move enough to make the plays. Now, you don't have to be 4.3, but you got to be able to move.
How much do you think the kind of hoodwinking, for lack of a better word, that the owners, that football culture had on, if you're a quarterback, don't move around too much. If you can do more than one thing, don't do it because it's bad. I mean, Steve Young was able to, but don't move around. How much of that was about, do you think, on some level, some kind of racial prism through which the owners were seeing it, knowing that the league coaches and quarterbacks are the faces you see, because we still don't see the coaches. But coaches and quarterbacks, if you can keep those faces white, you can sell your product, or so the orthodoxy went back then.
Listen, I think there's a lot to that, because the reality of it is we are still in America. And when corporations have the people who are out front, the reality is those people are supposed to look a certain way. So I definitely think there's something to that. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.